Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Brenda Hargroves, and this is my partner in crime, Pamela Daniels. Today, as a special tribute to Women's History Month, we're interviewing Dr. Janice Rodriguez Perez. Just to give you a little background, I write a blog called LitBizLife that addresses treating your life and career like a business. I also offer coaching and consulting services that focus on entrepreneurship and managing your personal finances. But my dream is to get my debut novel, Travel, traditionally published. My associate, Pamela, is a fellow writer, strategist, and entrepreneur. She's the co-founder and CEO of the Brickarati Group, LLC. Her company's mission is to plan and magnify neighborhood and family business solutions to grow generational wealth for America's marginalized Black and Brown communities. Having gotten that mouthful out, let's start today's discussion. I'd like to start it by saying I love my doctor, okay? She's not like many of the doctors you visit today. A lot of my friends complain their doctors spend 5 minutes with them and then are rushing off to see another patient. And a lot of times they don't even get a chance to see the doctor during their visit. Dr. Rodriguez is just the opposite. She spends time with her patients and listens carefully to what they have to say. She also allows them to get to know her, which is what prompted me to set up today's interview. In addition to celebrating the women we normally acknowledge during Women's History Month, I firmly believe in giving a shout out to those who are currently making history. So I have a couple of questions that will allow Dr. Janice to share her interesting background. So are you ready, Doc? Pam and I are going to tag team you with questions. Just kidding, but we are. Okay. So I'm going to start. First question is, I'd like you to tell us a little bit. We had this discussion and I found it absolutely fascinating. So I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your field of study and where you started practicing.
Well, Brenda and Pamela, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this meeting. I am very proud to be a doctor, and I'm very blessed to be able to practice medicine and have an environment where I can be myself and I can do and practice medicine the way that I want to do it. Right. Tell you a little bit about myself. I am from Puerto Rico. I'm born and raised. I moved here a few years ago, approximately 6 years ago. The reason why I moved to Florida was because of a devastating hurricane that we had in Puerto Rico. And unfortunately, as I was starting my practice, basically because my practice had only been established for about a year and a half, my own private practice, I had to move out of the island. My background is in wound care. I went to medical school in Mexico, and as I graduated and moved back to Puerto Rico, I started working for a surgery group. And that's where my passion for wound care started. And I was able to learn a lot from actually the nurses at the hospital. And as my passion grew, I decided to pursue it and get certified. And I became medical director for 2 wound care clinics and hyperbaric centers. And after that, I decided to start my own practice. That's where Renova, the practice that I was telling you about, got started. Like I said, only a year and a half of that practice, and I had to move out of the island. But when I moved here, my focus on medicine changed. I really enjoyed practicing wound care because it felt very satisfying to see the results of the care that I was giving my patients. I would see my patients 2-3 times a week, and we would go on that journey together, healing that wound and just being able to see with our own eyes the improvement and all the effort that the patient was putting on getting better. It was very satisfying. And I didn't think that I would have that again doing primary care, but it turns out that it was actually the area of medicine that I had least investigated before or didn't think that I would end up practicing. And I just absolutely love it. So right now I'm a primary care physician. So we manage all chronic conditions on our patients. I focus on a senior population in a managed care model. So we are basically available to our patients anytime they need us. And my practice, like Brenda was saying, allows me to spend the amount of time with my patients that's needed. So I'm here for them. I practice kind of like a holistic practice where we incorporate alternative medicine, we incorporate mental health, and everything that has to do with the well-being of the patient.
You had mentioned when we were talking something about working with patients in divers or people that were. Could you tell us a little bit about that? I thought that was absolutely fascinating.
So diverse population. I'm bilingual, so I'm able to be available to a vast, diverse population. This area in particular, we have people from all around the world, so it's good to be able to provide services to this area. I'm not sure exactly about the diversity that we were talking about, but
I was
um,
thinking, I thought you mentioned something about working with divers, people that were working underwater that were with
oh, with
that.
divers.
Yes.
So I was practicing hyperbaric medicine. So with hyperbaric medicine, what we do in the modality that I was using, it was mostly for wound care healing. But that area of medicine is used for divers, and the treatment consists in entering a patient in a chamber, a closed chamber, where we change the atmosphere pressure and we simulate a dive, right? And what that does is that it increases the oxygen in the patient. So we are able to heal wounds that way by increasing the oxygen saturation in the cells. And like we were talking about, there are big chambers where you can place different patients inside that chamber. But we were using monoplace chambers. So we were using that same type of treatment, but for a different purpose.
Okay. Okay. I got you. Got you. Okay.
Well, I
So
just like, if I could just jump in while we're still on kind of like where you were and what you transitioned to.
Mhm.
Are there noticeable differences in terms of having a practice in Puerto Rico versus America, or the mainland, I should say?
Definitely there are big challenges in Puerto Rico. Unfortunately, even though we are part of the United States, we do feel that there are certain differences in the funds that are available for medicine over there. On top of that, we have insurance companies that are trying to take over and kind of control the way that we practice medicine, and that was particularly frustrating over there. Um, I think that the biggest change that I've seen from moving over here is that there is more organization, there are more resources. You are able to actually treat your patients and have control of the treatment.
okay. You had mentioned to me something about a difference between the Medicare reimbursement in Puerto Rico versus the United States. I think that you made a mention of the percentage, which I found
Yeah.
very interesting. Could you repeat that for us, please?
Yeah, so up to a few years, I'm not current, but up to a few years ago, there was a 20% difference less over there than the state that is less paid over here. So that causes a huge difference in the resources that are available to treat our population over there.
So what you're saying is in Puerto Rico, Medicare reimbursement at the time that you were there was
Was
20%
best.
less than the lowest amount that we pay to any state in the United States.
Correct.
Yeah, That's pretty sad. It's really bad.
Yeah.
But when you were there, what were some of the differences that, because I think I remembered you talking to me about sometimes the patients paid you in different ways, and there were different,
Oh,
different kinds of things that you did
Barter.
with the patients versus what you would normally do here.
yeah. Well, I mean, I could have fruits, vegetables. I mean, I was offered animals sometimes,
Mm.
as exchange for payment to treat my patients. And it's just part of our culture. Um, it's there still exists this respect and this admiration for the doctors that treat patients over there. And I'm not saying that it's different here. Here, there are more resources, but you can definitely see the difference in that. And sometimes patients were just so eager and sometimes desperate to get medical services that they would just offer whatever they had to be able to get treated. And fortunately, when I had my own practice, I was able to do whatever I wanted. So if I wanted to treat a patient and not charge them anything and just make sure that they were doing better, even if they didn't have the financial resources to get insurance, I would do so because that was my calling. That is why I'm a doctor today.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
But I would get baskets of vegetables and flowers and food. They would cook food for me. It was just, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, do you plan to continue practicing here, or are you thinking about returning to Puerto Rico? And what are your thoughts?
I this is my place now. I'm not planning on moving anywhere. We're very happy here. We're just a short flight to Puerto Rico, so whenever we have a chance, we can just jump on a plane and go back and visit family. But I do have lots of friends and family here. My son, I have a 10-year-old. He goes to school here. He already has his friends, and you know he has he moved here when he was 4, so it was kind of like a tricky age to change environments, and he has gotten so used to being here, and this is his home, so we're not planning on moving anywhere, and I'm not leaving my patients.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
Do you still maintain a relationship with doctors in Puerto Rico? Do you still?
I do. Yes, I do. Actually, we're a big community over here. There's a lot of doctors that used to practice in Puerto Rico that are now practicing here, and the majority of us are practicing in areas of critical need. So this means areas of low socioeconomic status, or areas where a bilingual doctor is needed, or areas of high population where there is need of more doctors. So most of us are working in that program right now, along with that was something that was established by the government here, by the Florida Board of Medicine.
Mhm.
And so we're happy to help and just take care of that population that is in so much need.
Okay.
So we definitely know that the medical field, kind of switching gears a little bit, the medical field is always evolving. So what do you say to someone who wants to get into this field, knowing that it's growing, it's expanding, it's shifting? What are some tips that you have?
Well, I have to say that, first of all, you need to make sure that you are passionate about medicine, and you're passionate about treating patients, and you're empathetic about treating your patients. But like you said, it is shifting. It is a business, and a lot of doctors have no knowledge and no understanding of the administrative part of this and the financial part of this. So I would say to anyone that is thinking about practicing medicine, or getting into medicine, to learn and to demand that is actually added to a curriculum in medical school, because we have no idea what to do when it comes to financials and administering a practice. when we graduate from medical school. And in my case, I had no education in that matter. And I was lucky enough to work alongside of other doctors that were very knowledgeable, and that, that I was able to learn from them a lot. But it is definitely a business, and you have to have that understanding in order to have a business that thrives. Because otherwise, even though you're a doctor, that doesn't mean that you're going to have a job forever, and you need to take care of that business part as well.
It's interesting that you say that, because it sounds to me like you, or at least you're saying that you consider yourself an entrepreneur. So having said that, how do you balance being an entrepreneur with being a physician? How do you balance the two?
Um, I wouldn't say right now I'm an entrepreneur, because I'm not the owner of this business where I work at. I do own my knowledge and the way that I do practice medicine, so that might be what you're referring to. And I do make sure that I know enough to be able to practice and continue to have a profitable practice, right? In my case, how do I balance work and family? I think that self-care is super, super important. It is very important to provide the hours that you need to do for your work, but it is also important to take some time for yourself, especially because in this field, we are very prone to burnout. And if we don't take care of ourselves, we cannot take care of our patients. You probably met a few doctors or healthcare professionals that might not have that passion anymore. And it could be because of that, because of burnout. We are in a very demanding work type of job, and it is very important to spend time with family and to feel that you have that time to do that as well. So I work I have to say that I'm very lucky to work with a group of staff that help me a lot on that matter. We work as a team, we help each other. So when we leave home, we are sure to have everything done. And so we can spend some time with our families and kind of like disconnect a little bit and be able to enjoy our lives as well.
Yeah, I noticed that, because even in working with your staff, by the end of most days, if I call or if I need something, by the end of that day or early the next day, I get a response. So it seems like people are on it. And I remember when I was not feeling well, your office would call me. I was having some blood pressure problems. Someone in your office was calling all the time and saying, okay, stop what you're doing now. Go take your blood pressure and let me know what it is. And I really did appreciate that. And you've really helped me get through some health issues that I had. So I can appreciate that you have a really good staff working with you. And
we do.
I even got a call from you one day, which most people tell me is unheard of. Their doctor never calls them. So that was really reassuring in itself. So
yeah, I think that's a way to build trust, and it's very important that a patient trusts their doctor and trust their doctor to make the best decisions for them, and really understand that they care about you, right? So in our office, we have a system, we call it the worry list. And it's those patients that have, certain complaints of have been sick or are going through something. So we constantly call those patients, and we don't stop calling until that issue has been resolved.
That's such a beautiful thing to hear. I guess my last question is really, what do you feel, and maybe you've already mentioned it, but what do you feel are practices that are kind of fading out that you think is important to either bring back or keep in place in your profession?
Well, the most important is actually spending the time with the patient. Most doctors only spend 5-10 minutes with them, and it's not their fault, really. It's the system. When you're working in a fee-for-service practice, you have to see volume in order to be able to have a profitable practice. In this model that we practice, we don't have to do that. We take time to see our patients. I see around 8 to 10 patients a day. So if you divide that by the hours that we're working, I'm seeing, a patient an hour.
Wow.
So it's not that I spend the whole hour with the patient, but that the process of the interview with my assistant, taking vitals and all that, and then taking all that time that they require to discuss results, to have a good understanding of their medical conditions, why they take the medications they take, why I'm recommending the things that I recommend. I feel it's very important for the patient to understand that and to educate themselves and have the time to ask questions as well. That is very important for compliance. And when you have a compliant patient, you have a successful relationship with that patient. That means that they trust you, and that means that they know that you're willing to do whatever it's needed to keep them healthy.
The other thing I like about your office is I have never had to wait forever. I've gone to other doctors and had to wait an hour. You get there the time that you're scheduled, and you're still sitting there an hour later. That has never happened in your office.
Yeah.
Unless
We
it's an
try.
emergency or something, I don't ever
Right.
have to wait.
We try to be on time. I feel that we respect your time as the patient respects ours, right? So if we ask a patient to be on time for the visit, we try to be on time for their visit as well. Obviously, sometimes there are situations where you fall behind with taking a little bit longer with a patient that needed it more. Like I said, if a patient needs me, if they just want to talk, if they want to have a better understanding of their conditions, I will take the time to explain everything to that patient. And that might mean that I might run a little bit late, but that's not the usual. And I hope that my patients understand that when that happens, is because we are taking care of you.
Right. Wow. Well, thank you, Dr. Janice, for taking time from your busy schedule to talk to us. But I just have to say, if there's anyone out there in the Tampa area who's looking for a doctor that truly cares about her patients, call Dr. Rodriguez. Her phone number is 813-972-7979, or you can reach her at getvipcare.com. That's getvipcare.com.
And we are taking patients right now, so be sure to give us a call.
Okay. Pam, you have anything else?
Oh, thank you so much for your insights. I hope anyone who is considering medical school or in medical school really takes in some of the things that you said. I think it's really important for that business mentality, right? To not be the afterthought. So I think that's definitely going to ring volumes, especially with Brenda's audience. And yeah, would love to when I'm in the Tampa Bay area, come by and say hi sometime.
Yes, of course. Of course. Thank you so much.
So thank you, ladies. I appreciate all of your time, and I guess it's a wrap.
I'll see you in your next visit, Brenda.
Okay. Yes,
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.